Hello, you are listening to the Gamer Librarian Podcast, the best podcast you can find on this side of the multiverse. I am your host, Adrian, and today I will be talking about Donkey Kong Bonanza, the newest Superman movie, and more. Afterwards, be sure to subscribe to be notified when future episodes are released, and show your support by liking and leaving a comment. Thank you for joining. All right, we are here on another lovely Monday afternoon. It's very sunny out, so I hope that you guys are able to enjoy some outside grass touching time or the beach or something. Soldier's still a little fucked up from the last beach trip, but it is what it is. We're getting through it. It's not very often that the summer has a lot of game announcements or new titles, but we were blessed. This week blew up. So we have a little things to talk about here first. We have the Legend of Zelda movie cast to go over. I mean, I think it's crazy that we're still getting the live action Legend of Zelda movie. I the Mario movie was really awesome, animated super well. Live action, it might not go the way that we think. It's going to be very crazy, and I don't necessarily think that the casting choices were, negative or anything bad. I'm sure they're great actors, so like I'm excited to see them portray Link and Zelda on the big screen. Zelda obviously has a lot more versatility. I'm far more intrigued on what a Link will be because listen, I want those hi-yas and shit. I want those to be authentic. And everything else with like the story and stuff, obviously it's going to probably be something towards like just the generic Link gathers the Triforce and like the Master Sword, and it'll probably have like just the generic Legend of Zelda story. It probably won't even delve into maybe like Majora's Mask as the main thing or Twilight Princess. Closest it could probably be is Breath of the Wild. It's the most notable one. I think it'd probably be more of a Breath of the Wild situation. Well, that's like the more recent iteration, so people are more familiar with it. Very, very weird. It's offering a big narrative, so I think this is going to be a really big narrative focus like Zelda game. We've never really had that before, a straightforward story told. There's a timeline typically, but in my opinion, it's just always like, the same iteration every time. But it's cool. I am excited to see what the cast will be doing for Legend of Zelda, and we don't know anything else except for like Ganon or it's like Zelda's dad or Tingle. Tingle would be a wild character to see come up, and then like yeah, like the village boat guys. Yeah, it'd be really really sick to see what's gonna happen in Zelda. So that's a movie, right? And we'll be talking about a little bit of movies later on at the end of the episode, but something that was announced today that I was, really interested in is Fallout Bakersfield. This is a mod made from a Doom Total Conversion mod from the very first Doom game, I believe, and it just stylizes the first Fallout game into Doom. Now, this is going to be coming out for a very long time. We're not going to see this game for like 7, 10 more years, probably. Apparently, it's only like the first iteration of it. Like the first level is like totally fleshed out, and who knows how long this is going to take. But that's awesome. It is actually really, really sick to see fan projects like this keep going. And those Fallout mods for games always always have the longest release times. I've been meaning to try out Fallout London. I think it's a Fallout 4 mod and stuff. One day we'll do like a Fallout big thing here on the podcast. One day, maybe one day. But it is pretty cool. No, I like Doom. The newest Doom, not very fun to play. I don't really ever want to go back to playing that one. I'd much rather play Eternal. That game was so so good, and it's just really cool to see this kind of fan project. So shout out to the creators of Fallout Bakersfield, the workers on it. It's going to be so sick to try out your game at some point. Now, just a small game that was announced, like I think over the weekend, like Saturday or something, that really caught my eye. It's called Aidsfield High Rock the School. This game is a like bully like game. It's inspired by bully, and it has typical bully stuff. It has like you're going into school, you got like school type mini games for your classes, and there's like amusement park like type side quest. Don't know much on like the bullying side of stuff. The most I believe we see from the reveal trailer is like the character running away from the like town guards. It looks more like a highway patrolman, really, from like um highway cop or something. Not really like the prefects that you see in Bully. And then there's a segment where he's like fighting another character, which, very, very early kind of stuff, I believe. So we're not going to see that game until 2026, early 2026, though. Hopefully, maybe there's going to be like a demo type stuff on Steam. That's when it's going to come out. And it looks awesome. I'm very excited. I think that the Bully type game needs to come back. I hope it has maybe a little more like modern nuances to it, like a cell phone, the internet type stuff. There was like a little bit of like a house party, I think, teased in the trailer. Looks awesome. I'm very, very intrigued to be trying out a new bully game. Like that just seems awesome. And for news, that's basically just really all we really have here. What I really want to talk about here is Donkey Kong Bonanza. So this is like the headlining Switch game. I wouldn't really call, Mario Kart World the headlining Switch game in my opinion. It has like a fun open world and it definitely feels like a very fun Mario Kart game. But after Mario Kart 8, playing so much of that game, this game doesn't necessarily look all that much better than it. And I don't feel like a Mario Kart game should be headlining a Nintendo console. Just as like a launch title is awesome, but it definitely felt like, all right, this is definitely gonna be a game where like we're gonna be playing it like a little bit on and off for the rest of like the um like lifetime of the Switch 2, which is great. But unless they do like a DLC, which they might, they did for Mario Kart 8, so it's only like probably inevitable they're gonna do that, probably like the crossover stuff, but who could say? Um, But yeah, in my opinion, I think the best Mario Kart game was still Double Dash, and until they bring back like the co-opness of that kind of experience where you can have two characters on the same cart, it'd be awesome to have like four characters on the same cart in some later iteration. Like to me, that was where Mario Kart peaked, and it's still not there. So Donkey Kong Bonanza is the headlining game for the Switch right now, like it just is. I don't necessarily know what else is coming out for the Switch this year. I think it's Pokemon, right? So it's just Pokemon, and I don't really know much about that game. I'm still like on the fence of whether or not I'll even purchase it. Probably won't. But for a Donkey Kong game to get this kind of revitalization and the same way like Mario Odyssey kind of did, but to be real, Mario Odyssey had like a a legacy of a few 3D games and even like to be honest like a whole bunch of other games just a spin off of, right, just to collect from and stuff, build off from. Like we're never going to get flood back for Mario games, hope maybe not, or the Galaxy type games is really fun. Odyssey 2, I'm not very keen for an Odyssey 2 because I wasn't a fan of the level design, and I'm gonna be real, I wasn't a big fan of the level designs for Donkey Kong Bonanza. There wasn't even like a jungle level in Donkey Kong Bonanza. I find that really, really crazy that there wasn't really like a full, real feeling like jungle level. It doesn't really feel like that. There's the forest layer where you get the like the poison type of environment, and that was just like some of the game didn't really feel like Donkey Kong, right? The older Donkey Kongs, they've had like that real kind of side scrolly, fast paced Sonic type vibes, and the cart levels really felt like that. I don't know if this game really try to encapsulate on that. They have mine carts and they have the barrel stuff, but it's definitely felt like a big divergence from the Donkey Kong legacy of their games, and it became like, oh, if it worked for Mario, it's gonna work for Donkey Kong. And you know what? I had a lot of fun with it. It was actually really enjoyable from like start to finish and that type of vibe. But do I want to really like deal with the level designs and the animal mechanics? Like the animal mechanics are my biggest gripe on it. Switching between them it isn't really difficult, but it's more so like they're all kind of like universal for traversal for a lot of ways. Like the zebra one, you have to run on certain terrain for it, which is useful in some situations. Very specific locations, and maybe depending on like your boss fight. Then you have like the bird one where you can fly. That one it doesn't really have like a whole lot of flight time. Doesn't really have like a whole lot of maneuverability. And I'll be real, I didn't even level up a single one of the upgrade paths except for the big Hulk like gorilla for Donkey Kong, the big Hulk like bruiser um, you know, transformation. That was the only real one that got upgrades. Everyone else did not get upgrades in any form by the time I beat this game. And I just felt like the animal transformations were a big switcheroo for the whole thing. They were fun, and I will say I hope that these transformations are part of a new iteration of Donkey Kong for Smash Bros. Like that would be so sick for Donkey Kong to have like an ult that's not the big bongos, right? Where he just does like the AoE. I think that is. I don't remember if that's what it is for Smash Ultimate, but I do think that's what it is for like uh maybe like Smash 4 or Brawl or something. And then he has like the wind up punch attack. Yeah, I think that it would be a really cool upgrade. Now, I'll talk about spoilers because the game's been out for a few days and it's a kids game. It's a Donkey Kong game. There's not a lot of nuance for it. I know people are like talking about whether it's before the current, you know, like series, I guess, or whether it's like take place after Odyssey. I didn't really care about that, but I believe it does take place after Odyssey, just from a little bit of what I've seen from playing it. And there's videos of people like watching it. I'm not really here for like the lore of Mario games. I'm here for more like the platforming experience. And this game's a fun platformer. It really is. It's enjoyable. It has that you know like that twitchy kind of movement for like some of the parts of the game where you're really kind of using the camera and all the traversal maneuvers like at your disposal. Sometimes, I say sometimes, the boss battles is where that probably shines the most, like especially towards the end. I think that when you start using all of the mechanics in like a really solidified and controlled way, it's at its best. And that was actually really awesome. But dealing with the bosses early on was a breeze. I mean, the roll attack is so overpowered early on in the game that it's literally all I use for like the first half of the game is you just roll into things or roll to maneuver and then just hit. You just hit things and you just beat them up. It was fun. It was fun. It's supposed to be easy for kids. But I'm gonna be for real. I played like the Super Mario Galaxy game, Super Mario Sunshine 64. Those games had some hard platforming levels. This game has like mechanics that allow you to get around a big breadth of situations, which is super cool and in its own way. That like, you could just breeze through the game just by abusing certain things. And another big thing for this game is that it does what a lot of games do to a detriment of themselves, and it has an abundance of things to collect that you're just gonna find them if you just keep searching around, and that's not awful. Odyssey did it. Odyssey did it very well. I think the platforming in that situation for that game was super great. Not the same for Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong's like, okay, I'm gonna either destroy to get to it, or there's a straightforward just use one of those power ups and then you can just get to it. There's not a whole lot of puzzleness to it, which actually I find a relatively like upsetting that the puzzles weren't super like intuitive on like the physics based stuff with and or like the movement or anything like that. I would have liked a little more in depth puzzles. I feel like puzzles have gotten a lot easier in certain games just to make them more accessible for a lot of people. Yeah, it's definitely a game that I think people are gonna love. Like people obviously love it, right? They're giving it like 10 out of 10. I mean, it was definitely fun. And now that I'm in the end game of it, right? The end game of this game, you get like an opportunity to do like challenges with each of the like main big creatures that give you your big upgrade power ups, the elders. and that just gives you like more bananas. And then these bananas, they're just skill points. You get them, you get amount of them. They're skill point like experience, and you level up. You get to get like ability. That's really really dope. But am I really going to go and get all these bananas for whatever little uh you know reward they might be? No, no. There's too many, and to be honest, they don't even respect like that in any way, because there is a way for you to just spend a specific currency and then just get the banana point anyway. It's wild. It's crazy that you can do it. Now I got um 300 and like 45 or so. I'm like a few shy away from 350, and that's deterring me from doing the next uh elder challenge, because I did the first one. You can do it at 300, and the second one is at 350. But then you only get like about 10 for each elder challenge, which isn't terrible. But then you still have 40 to get to like 400. That's what I bet the next challenge will be, probably 400, and then 500 or 600. I am not gonna be getting more of these bananas in increments of like 40 at a time. I don't really want to do that. The challenges, they weren't necessarily fun. They were just like, oh, okay, once I figure out the gimmick, it's like a speed race or something like that. I really enjoyed the Mario Sunshine shit where it was like you traverse and you chase like Shadow Mario, which was like Baby Bowser, and you chase him on like the lava covered or the um like the ink covered areas, or you do like those spinning uh like puzzle block looking platforming levels with no flood. Awesome. I really enjoyed the maneuverability in the game. It was really fun being Donkey Kong, rolling around, grabbing and being able to climb on stuff. No stamina bar like some games. Breath of the Wild, yeah, it was really really enjoyable. Would I give it a 10 out of 10? Maybe not. I'd probably give it more like an 8 or 9 if I really had to like scale it. But I'm not gonna scale a game that's not like specifically marketed to somebody of my skill set. I've been playing platforming games since I could play games. Very, very easy for me to pick up, understand, and I breezed through this game in a weekend. About 30 or 40 hours or so, pretty solid. I love it. It's definitely a game worth on the Switch, and it's big to say that this is a game of the year contender. It really is. This is a big game of the year contender because it is a console exclusive game on what may be a relatively hard to come by console. I keep seeing things like, oh, Amazon's doing invitations to buy Switches now. And I know that they have them in stock stores. So, if you can get it, you can get it. I don't think it's like a PS5 situation like 4 years ago. Now that Donkey Kong is over, I'm gonna probably just, plow through more of Persona 5X just while I can. It's only on the computer, so I can't play on the phone, which is really annoying. So I'm gonna try and get a little bit far into that. We're playing Night Rain, me and my friends tonight, so maybe we could beat the last two bosses and I can delete the game off my PS5. And then I think I'm gonna actually try and finish Metal Gear Solid 2, get that fully done, and then do the third original game. I probably won't buy the remake until I beat that game. Just until then, maybe we'll stream it or something. But we're coming up episode 100 for the podcast here, and we've been trying to keep a steady schedule for a lot of things, playing games when we can. A lot of games are easier than others. Some of the multiplayer games, like Night Rain, obviously is very different. Persona 5X is a time-consuming game for an unfortunate reason if we all know gotcha games. So I try to play as many games as I can. I think I'm gonna play the what is it called? Astrobot. Now that I played Donkey Kong Bananza, because Astrobot was like game of the year, and this game might be game of the year. And I'm gonna be honest, I think I might get more enjoyment out of Astrobot as a platformer than I did Donkey Kong Bonanza. But we're gonna see. We're gonna maybe try to compare the two because they're two platforming games that won game of the year, relative close cycles to each other. Which I mean, Donkey Kong Bonanza might. I think Expedition 33 still has it, in the bag. That's my personal pick. I would choose Expedition 33, but Bonanza's up there. Damn, is it up there? Uh, yeah. So we do try to keep a steady schedule for the podcast with games, but also reading. I usually read while I'm just at work, and while I can, like on and off outside, just in real life, in the real world, and things like that, like on my phone or like real books. And I was reading a novel, not going to mention it because it was bad. So we've been trying to read manga, right? We can talk about manga for a bit. One Piece 1155. That's really the only really thing we've been caught up on is when One Piece. I try to be on top of that as much as possible. That comes out every Sunday, right? At least for me, I find that using Shonen Jump really, really works out. So I read One Piece on Shonen Jump, and 1155 came out, and we learned relative like the origin of the Rooks pirates, which is relatively cool. That's really awesome. It kind of diverts to a little bit of the Elbaf kind of stuff we were getting into, but obviously we're gonna get into the how like the Rooks pirates relates to the Elbaf storyline because there's giants a part of this crew, which is super sick. Crazy, crazy what's gonna happen. I think the Rooks pirates might like um attack or help Loki like with Elbaf, something like that in the past, and then we cut back to the future and we find out what maybe really happened by like the celestial the governors, right? The Saturn, whatever the people Saturn were, like his people, Jupiter, shit like that. The science man. Yeah, One Piece has been really, really solid. Trying to read it and be on top of that as much as possible. We're probably going to do a little more in-depth episode on One Piece at some point if I ever try to get like back onto the anime again or something like that because I'm very excited for the ending for it. I want to focus a little bit on it, but manga we've been a little slow on just getting up on stuff. I know that there's like Dan to Dan and Wild Strawberry as well, so like I've been locked out of my account, so I just didn't have a chance to like be able to download them or anything right now. I could always just read them on browser, but one day we're gonna do a big push because I want to do that for JoJo Lands as well. I want to do a little bit more of a slower read for JoJo Lands and catch up and have a you know be able to just read that as it comes out for the podcast. But we're gonna do a readjustment around episode 100 because we're gonna try and live stream the podcast. It's gonna be a fun trip. It's gonna be a fun change up. The last thing on manga though is Vinland Saga is ending. The last chapter is the 25th. Like that's insane. That's actually huge to me, in my opinion. Like it's such a shock for it to end. In my opinion, pretty abruptly. I'd call it pretty abruptly. I hope that this chapter is like long. I hope this chapter has a really finite closing because we all know the ending to it. Like we're here. We're living the ending. Whether or not the characters and their actions really were what happened back then. I know that some references to real life characters were there or a part of the story, but you know, we're telling the rest of the story like it's ours now, and it's pretty cool to see that as being finalized. So we're probably gonna do a big manga push around the time whenever Vinland Saga finally ends. We'll do JoJo, and we'll probably catch up on Wild Strawberry and Dan the Dan. 'Cause those are like the two ones I really try to keep up with as much. And then that's probably it. Chainsaw Man, Chainsaw Man as well. They're getting like a new movie that's gonna be so cool. And that's basically it for manga, right? And for books, I couldn't tell you what's going to happen with books. Not really keen on reading a book right now. I'm probably gonna do the manga push for a little bit, and then we'll see what happens. Now, before we get into movies, right? Because a few movies I want to talk about just here just in a bit. We had a trailer for Alien Earth, which seems awesome. That comes out like August or something, and then a trailer for Predator Badlands, which is like young Predator origin story set in like future with Weyland Yutani like in space and stuff, right? So pretty dope. These two probably connect in some way. I would only imagine these two do connect in some way, and I'm excited for it. I actually have some Alien comics that I scored from the convention center when I talked about it like 2 episodes ago, and I'm very excited. I'm probably gonna read those in line with those coming out, and maybe a Predator comic. We're gonna try and do that. So, I should have read a Superman comic for Superman 2025. I was more of a surprise see, right? My sister asked me to go see it, so I saw it with her, and I wasn't expecting to see it. I wasn't planning to see it like ever, to be honest. What a killer movie! What a phenomenal Superman movie! I mean, they didn't do the origin story. They made Lois and Jimmy like super likable, and I loved the goofy side characters. They weren't shoehorned in like for terrible jokes or just terrible like references like the ones in Sonic. Yeah, Jimmy Olsen's like girlfriend was super funny, and I like it all rounded up. Like by the end of it, that was awesome. I felt like there was no loose ends for that entire movie, to be honest. So like it's an established universe. It's a different universe. Who cares? It's like, it's not tied to any one that we've seen. Like who cares anymore? And it had such wholesome vibes the whole time. I mean, Superman's like stressed and annoyed, but he's showing those emotions, which is awesome. And then he's just, stuck in a situation where if he acts, things might get worse. But the big crux of the story is that it's not really like Superman that like saves the day. It's like other people, choosing the other side of good or working with Superman. Not to really get into specific spoilers of who or what, but it's that action that really thwarts Lex's plan. It's really by then. And then right, Superman always outsmarts like his villains by the end of it. And Lex Luthor obviously has like some big twisty thing at the end. We're not gonna say what it is. I think it's pretty easy to tell what it is if you've been, watching the movie up until the end. It's where the big twist is. But Superman comes up on top, and then Lex Lex loses, and Lex loses in a way where it's like you know he's gonna come back again. But the Superman movie made it seem like this is its own story. Like it'll never have something to do with some Green Lantern storyline or Hawkman's gonna come or Mr. Terrific's gonna like go insane or like Luthor's gonna like get out or whatever. Like he's gonna escape. Like no, this felt like uh front to back Superman like volume. I would say like a relative volume. Obviously, like volume still have like a little bit like loose ends, but like for a real like event story where you begin the middle of Superman's life where he loses his first battle. That's where this movie kicks off. Is he loses his first battle uh after 3 billion years the we become created. Krypton like explodes, and then he lands on Earth. You just told us like through text, and then it's like 3 months later he's like going to school. 3 years later he's like working at like the Daily Planet or some shit, and then becomes Superman or whatever. Like it opened up like such a comic book story. I was like, oh, this is gonna be so great. And by the end of it, I was like, this is the best Superman movie ever. I was blown away. This is the type of vibe that like you always need. It's like even if the world like is bad, like Superman still views it as like good, like and he always will. That's relatively cool. I enjoy that, and it was nice seeing a story that really wasn't trying to tell extra stories after. Like what really annoyed me with the Batman, with Robert Pattinson was that like oh now there's like the Penguin TV show with Colin Farrell whatever the fuck, and it's like I like tie in stuff and shit. It's kind of a lot. We're over the 2010s now where things have to tie into things. It's just like things don't need sequels, things don't need tie-ins. It's just like, oh, we're just gonna tell extra long stories for no reason. Yeah, it was nice. It was nice having a single, straightforward Superman story. Super great. And another really awesome blast from the past movie that actually was awesome. Final Destination Bloodlines. I I don't know what to say. It was actually enjoyable. The dialogue was like whatever, but like it was enjoyable seeing these characters, all of them argue with each other because they're all family in this movie. They're all family, and it's like they're not friends. So obviously, there's no like real connection to him besides the big event, but like they're just family and they're just tied by blood, and that's because they're dying. That's the reason they're dying. I find that really goofy, and it actually told a really good story. Like I like you could tell what it was by the end of it, but it was actually told in a way that was really really nice. So it was like competent, it was enjoyable. I was truly surprised to see that this movie would be like one of the better Final Destination movies because I would put this one right up there as the number four best Final Destination movie. Like obviously it's the first three. It's this one. It's Bloodlines, and then maybe the one with the elevator scene, and then I don't know the other ones. No. So yeah, was it like the 3D one or something? And for that movie, that was a horror movie. You know, little out of season for that movie. But a surprise watch that I did was this movie called Palmer with Justin Timberlake, and that was actually super great. And it's about this guy, Justin Timberlake. He gets out of prison for like an assault type charge, and he comes into like faux foster his of like a kid through like his grandma, and then a whole lot of antics from that. I saw like a clip of it. I wanted to rent it. It was great. I highly recommend people go see Palmer. And that's basically what we have to talk about for the podcast. Nothing else. I'm gonna try and do some Persona 5X uh pulls and stuff before we run Night Rain later today. That's pretty much what I want to do. And I want to know what you guys think about Donkey Kong Bonanza. I want to know what you guys think about Superman or Final Destination if you guys saw it, or anything to talk about, right? Any of the manga we've been following, anything. Just let me know what you guys think about anything coming up because we have a lot of stuff, right? It's just cool seeing what things release, things talking about, right? And then hopefully we'll be doing that live streamed podcast stuff, right? Episode 95 is the next one. This is like 94. We're about five away from 100 episodes. I think that's insane that I've been doing this about 94 times, seven away from 100 or something like that, six away. It's insane. But I'm going to wish you guys happy Monday. I will see you all next week. Peace.